Friday, vlog, screenwriting. We're trying that new system again. So number one on the list is camera. A couple things. First of all, I discovered that for some reason, it might be a button that I don't know, but for whatever reason, this camera in video mode won't do auto ISO, which I hope I just am too dumb to use it, because phones use auto ISO. Like, that's a really common thing. My Sony's, that was never a problem. I could go so far with the Sony's as to put auto ISO and then tell it which ISOs to be between like 100 and 800 or whatever. This one seems to be locked, so that's kind of a bummer. Only in sort of a vlogging situation though, because I think in regular sort of filmmaking and photography situations you would be controlling the ISO anyway. I think in photography the auto ISO works. Anyway, so last week I shot the camera at 60 frames per second at like 1/100th shutter speed or something like that. So I could drop frames and make it a 24 frames per second timeline. But also if I wanted to do slow motion, I had a little bit. Yeah, I think it worked. I think last week's vlog looks like this didn't look disorienting at all, the motion and stuff. So I think it works. I think that was a good experiment. This week, let me try to get in the middle of the frame here. So this week I finally got in my adapter. So I have a Helios 58mm lens, which is that really famous cheap lens. It's like for $40 that gives you really cool like swirly bokeh, the out of focus stuff, or bokeh. And I found something very strange. So I have a Zongi Lens Turbo 2 speed booster for my Canon FD glass going into this. So it'll expand the image to about an APS-C sort of field of view. And I found an adapter that goes from M42, which is the mount on my Helios lens, to a Canon FD lens. So I have my Helios lens going into a Canon FD mount adapter, going into the Lens Turbo 2 Canon adapter, going into the camera. So for like $25, I found an adapter that lets me basically use my Canon speed booster on my Helios lens, which is really cool. As far as I can tell, this is the only lens combo that can work. I don't have any other Helios M42 lenses, but I think most M42 lenses with this little wafer thin adapter, you can put M42 lenses onto a Canon FD speed booster. Yeah, so I think that's the only combo that can work. I don't think if you used the Canon EF speed booster, I don't think the dimensions would line up correctly. So I think you have to use that. And then furthermore, I want to try another experiment at some point. I figured out that the M42 flange distance is longer than the Sony flange distance, so you can put M42 lenses adapted onto Sony's, but not the other way around. So it'd be really funny if I could get my Canon FD speed booster that's on my M42 camera and adapt that with another adapter to put onto my Sony camera. But I don't think it'll work, because I think the M42 speed booster is designed for the M42 sensor. So I think there would be a vignette. This is getting really nerdy, but the point is, I found an adapter to put my favorite lens, my Helios 442, far and away my favorite lens, speed boosted onto my Panasonic. So it's basically, I have a Helios 44-2 85mm full frame equivalent on my Panasonic, and that's what I'm shooting on right now. I think it looks pretty decent. I'm in and out of brightness because I don't have any automatic controls to control brightness, so I just kind of eyeballed it, and I can already tell I'm darker than when I started. But exciting, very exciting that I was able to speed boost my Helios lens. They make an M42 speed booster, but that's an extra like $100-something, $150. So I think it was a pretty good grab that I found like a $20 M42 to Canon FD adapter. Yeah, so I think back in the day when you had Canon FD camera in like the 80s, it was of the same time as the M42 mount. So you could take like Zeiss M42 glass and adapt it to like a Canon AE1 stills camera or something. I think that's possible, but this is a new adapter, and it works pretty good. It's all metal. I like it. I'll try to remember to take a picture so that what I'm talking about actually makes sense. Yeah. Camera. So I'm doing mechanical adjustments with the camera experiment today. I like it. I will say though that the Helios lens is a very heavy lens because it's kind of big and it's all glass, and it's just it's only an f2, which is not enormously big, but it's a pretty heavy piece of glass, and then you add all those extra adapters to it. I'm a little concerned as to how heavy that camera is. I don't think it's any heavier than my big push-pull Canon 70-210 lens, because that's just a long lens, and so it's very nose heavy, but it does seem like a lot of weight. So I think I'm going to be gentle when I handle it, just because I'm not sure how strong that M42 mount is. Anyway, did I write this week? I sure as hell tried. I'm in a period where I don't have to turn anything in for a couple weeks, and I should be rewriting my stuff that I got workshopped, but I started to feel my mental muscles atrophying a little bit, so I decided I dug up a project that I want to write. So I started breaking this hour-long sci-fi idea. Didn't get as far as I want because I realized why I put it away the last time I put it away. I can't figure out sort of the world that it's sitting in, but it's a really interesting, like, I'll pitch the idea. The idea is, what if through happenstance, or in this case, accidental science, you can make a clone of someone else just by accident, and the clone is actually the embodiment of someone's opinion of someone. So in this case, there's a scientist, his wife who's a psychologist, and then two bodyguards who are brothers, hiding in a bunker. And that's the part I can't figure out, because I can't figure out the world that they live in. But the scientist has been waiting for his time machine to recharge, because you need a full power to send people back. But the problem is the time machine has a leak, and they don't know about it. And so one of the bodyguards has been working out really close to the time machine, and he somehow has fallen in love with the wife. And so the time machine has been getting all this something, data or cosmic something, from the guy, and has been putting out flawed clones of this wife inexplicably. Like, they haven't figured out why yet, but that's the why. And so they've had to continuously kill these like one-armed clones or clones without faces and stuff. And then the moment where they actually get an opportunity to use the time machine, when they use the time machine, somehow a perfect clone shows up. But this perfect clone is the version of the wife that is how the bodyguard sees her. So she has a completely different personality and a completely different set of sort of emotional traits. It's really so you'd have the same female actor playing two utterly different roles. It's kind of similar to what they did in Battlestar Galactica with Six, I believe, the Asian girl, where whatever her name is, not Hilo, that's the guy she ends up banging. Anyway, there's two different people, and you have to reconcile that one person is not the same as the other person, just based on the fact that they're two unique human beings. So might have just given away a pitch, but it's not done yet, so good luck trying to write that, because I can't figure it out yet. Did I write anything else? No. I was trying this week, because we're on spring break. I was trying to get a writer's room together, because it'd be really nice to make a big collaborative, like 4 or 5 person pilot. And then, because the sort of the big plan that I have is leaving grad school, because everybody's going to sort of fracture, and hopefully writers groups will form, but obviously a lot of people are going to leave. It'd be nice to have a writing team with, I came up with this idea of, I don't know if I mentioned it on this or not, but having instead of, oh man, it just got bright again too. Yeah. Instead of just trying to sell a pilot, writing an entire season collaboratively, obviously, because it's a writer's room. I'm not the whatever brothers that did Stranger Things, the Dietz brothers or whatever. But like have a collaboratively made pilot that works, and then have everybody else splinter off and write the other 9 episodes of that season. So you're selling a whole season, and whoever you'd be selling it to has a very good sort of understanding of what it would look like in its current state. So the development process would be different. Instead of trying to like hammer out a pilot and push and pull the pilot different directions, you have a living, breathing show already, and I think it would be better. I don't know. It'd be a good science experiment. So I was trying to do that. I don't think anybody's in town though, so certainly not enough people to do it, which is kind of a bummer. But at some point, I'm going to try to collaboratively build a pilot, and then have a writer's room occasionally as a writer's group, where everybody is assigned an episode and we work on the episodes. So, an idea. If anybody wants to pay me to do that, I would really like to. It's raining again. I think I'm less uncomfortable this time, but I feel like I'm talking more. I don't know. Anyway, did I read this week? Only a couple things, and only stuff that I had to. So, shame. What did I watch this week? Let's see. I finally saw the TBS pilot and second episode of Final Space. Really good idea. Don't think it's that great. Hopefully it'll be better. I think it's a story. I think the characters are a little underwritten. That's what I think. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that, because it's obviously done and it's out there, but it's also something about it seems a little soft, even though when I actually talk about the idea of the show, where he's a prisoner in space and he finally gets an opportunity to do something good. Yeah, I don't know. It's a really interesting idea, but somehow the execution, I don't know. And it's not the animation, because I don't have a problem with the animation, but I don't know. I started going through, I'm way behind on People of Earth, and the second season seems kind of mundane, honestly, but it was also because I was doing something else while I was watching it, so it might have been that. But I really liked the first season of People of Earth a lot, because there was sort of an escalation of stuff, of like you start being like, aliens are definitely not happening, and then you end with, not only are there aliens, but the aliens are losing control themselves. And then the second season seems a lot less building, I guess, a lot less sort of frenetic. There's not these big jumps and escalations so much. I don't know. It's a choice, but I still like it. And there's a big twist in that second season, which I very much like. I hope they pay it off. I don't think they paid it off at the end of the season yet. I'm not finished, but I don't think they pay it off yet. Hopefully in season 3 they'll pay it off. I'll keep watching. I finished episodes. I think I already mentioned that. I'm trying to think what else. I feel like I watched something else. I watched films. I saw Annihilation, and it scared the crap out of me. There's a particular pair of scenes in the middle of it at night with a monster which are truly haunting. It's still about once a night I still wake up and I'm afraid that I'm dealing with the monster. That's how afraid I became. Super scary. I don't know. It didn't feel like a totally satisfying ending to me, because I'm a nerd, because I'm an asshole. But pretty satisfying movie overall. Like very scary, like unexpectedly scary. So, yeah. Annihilation. It looks like it didn't do super great at the box office, and also won't be doing very good, which is too bad, because it was a really interesting movie, and it was beautiful. It was such an incredible image. I saw a preview last night with a Q&A of Red Sparrow, and I wasn't super enthusiastic about Red Sparrow, but now, and I didn't read the books, but now that I've seen it, yeah, you should definitely go see it. Apparently it's going to do pretty good at the box office. That's what they think. Or not Black Panther money. Still haven't seen that. but it's supposed to be pretty decent. And I learned later that it's the guy who did the last batch of the Hunger Games so he's a proven thing. But yeah, it was like unexpectedly gritty. I don't usually get uncomfortable in movies, except for horror movies like Annihilation, which scared the piss out of me. But this movie has some really graphic, really nuanced scenes Red Sparrow, I mean, that just worth watching. Like, woof, but worth watching. Yeah, so go watch Red Sparrow. I liked it, and it looked really cool. Did I watch anything else? Let me think. Saw curling. I don't know if that counts. The Olympics. I can't think of it. So I'm sure I saw something else, but I don't know what it was. Oh man, I forgot to plan a writing tip this time because I didn't look at my notes. All right. Yeah, I'll go back to the writing the season instead of the pilot. So in film school, of which I have a billion opinions of, they're very much, I mean, obviously I believe every school is behind, just because if you're not actively working and selling and pitching, then you are behind, and so they never could be at the front. Film school really pushes, at least my experience, spec episodes, so episodes of ongoing shows, which are useless at this point, but they're fun to write, and I find them incredibly easy to write. And then they really push pilots, conventional pilots, half-hour format, hour-long format. Our school is really kind of starting to be okay with short-form stuff, like web content stuff, but really hour-long, half-hour format, and then features is a huge part of our school. But yeah, but we had speakers come in a while back, and they were talking about how I won't say what network, but they were a network, and they started a new thing that they're calling the incubator or something, some Silicon Valley word that I don't like very much. And they were talking about how they took the pilot for a show, and instead of shooting the pilot, which is expensive and time consuming and just incredibly high risk, even for a cable network, which they tend to have better luck than the big three or the big five, who just buy everything and put it on. They instead of shooting a pilot, they put together an 8, 10, 16 week, I forget, writer's room with a showrunner who's usually the writer of the pilot and a writing team, and they write the rest of the season or the rest of the first half of the season. And so that way everybody creatively involved gets to see how the show is going to unfold and make a decision whether or not they want to buy the show instead of the pilot, because like the pilot format has been around for a while, but it's extremely high risk, and it's extremely high risk for everybody, because you're essentially making a mini movie and then you're waiting to hear back whether or not that mini movie got bought. So the beauty of a TV show is you get to go in and do the same thing over and over again, and you get some form of stability in the work, especially for everybody, well, especially for the actors, but especially for everybody. And so, for instance, like pilot season, the same 30 actors get gobbled up for everything, and you're usually on multiple pilots because it's just like, none of them are going to take, so you want to try to get on as many as you can in the hopes that one of them takes. So this would be a different approach. This would be like a holistic, creative approach instead of what I would consider like a business-minded approach or a bottom-line approach, which is pilots, in my opinion. So yeah, so and it's an opportunity. Like so much of the hard story work takes place in the writer's room, and a pilot, because the nature of it being so many different things, it's the show, but it's also where the show's going, and it's also we need to take time to establish characters and the world and all this. Like there's so much writing on and working against a TV pilot, whereas if if it was a mini series or a feature film, you get that shit done early and then you have fun with the story. Or if it's a sequel, you just don't bother with that shit early and you just do the story. So this would be an opportunity to sort of tease out all of it. Yeah, so I want to do that. I want to put together a room of probably, I think the sweet spot is 4 people, 5 if we get somebody who's not specifically a writer involved, to tease out, to collaboratively write a pilot, because you got to get everybody's voice involved, because the Pixar approach of like everybody's creative input is important at a certain level, and then after that you write the rest of the episode. So once you get so the plan is get a room together, figure out what kind of story we want to tell, get a pilot in good shape, which could take forever because pilots are just incredibly hard to write, even collaboratively. And then once the pilot's in excellent shape and you know what the show's going to look like, then it's time to do the real work, which is everybody goes off, writes their episodes, and we bring them back and we turn them into one uniform thing, which is a 10-episode show. So I would like to do that, and any opportunity to do that, I like, at the expense of everything else that I would do that. So I hope that's the way things go. I hope that's the direction things go, because the feature market is you write an episode, you hope somebody likes it, and then it goes through development hell, and then hopefully a movie gets made at the end of it. So the writer in the feature market tends to only be in that initial part and then maybe the development part. Definitely not this, unless they're a writer-director. But yeah, so in TV, everything serves the story. So, well, I mean, in film too, but in TV, everything serves the story. So if you, in theory, could get 10 really decent shape, cohesive, internally consistent scripts together, the chances of that show being satisfying and usable and marketable, most importantly, really high. But I don't believe anybody has ever done that. I think the closest is this anecdotal network story of they had a pilot they really liked, and then they paid for a room of writers who wrote the rest of the episodes. And apparently they admitted that about half of them took and half of them, like half of the 3 or 4 that they did took and half the 3 or 4 that they did not take. So, yeah. I'm going long, but I'm also babbling. I'm a little more comfortable. So that's my writing tip. Find as many collaborators as you can. Although a TV show, I would say probably 4 is a good healthy number, unless you're writing a much bigger show. Because I definitely have had the experience of having too many writers working on the same project at the same time, and not enough leadership. Guilty as charged on the leadership stuff, because I was a contributor to putting the project together. But yeah, like, work together, find people you can work with them, get something usable out of your collaborating relationship. That's my theory on how to sell it. Unproven theory. Last thing was the box office, and let me take a look. So last week, I said I almost said Pink Panther. Black Panther, Game Night, Peter Rabbit, Annihilation, 50 Shades, Freed, or whatever. I got 5 out of 5. It was pretty obvious, though, because Black Panther is just the blockbuster's blockbuster. Game Night was a new movie that came out. And Peter Rabbit, I think, was on its second week. I don't know. Peter Rabbit for kids, for animation. Annihilation underperformed. So this week, I believe, so I got a perfect last week. This week, I believe Black Panther again, Red Sparrow, Death Wish, Game Night, Peter Rabbit. So Red Sparrow and Death Wish are the 2 that are new this week, but just based on the last 48 hours of interacting with Red Sparrow and realizing that people are actually taking it kind of seriously, it seems like it's going to do pretty decent this week. So And then also Death Wish. I look forward to watching Death Wish, but man, that looks like a B movie. That does not look like it's the kind of movie that Bruce Willis would normally make. So, but it got to theaters, so that was that. Closing thoughts. If you have a Panasonic, you can't use auto ISO in movie mode. Keep writing. One more note. It's a mistake to judge someone, a lesson I'm learning, based on the quality of their creative ability and their output, because you don't know what stage what you're judging them on is at. Because there are some writers or filmmakers that can just lay it out and it's perfect, and there's some that have to whittle it down to something spectacular, or exceptional, I guess was the other word I was going to say. So hubris, looking me in the face right now, shame on me. The final product and the ability to move on to the next product, I think, is probably more the second one. The ability to move on to the next product, I think, should be the most important thing in judging a creative person, because you really couldn't know what went into what the product that you're looking at that you're judging them based off of. So shame on me. See you next week.